Hey, welcome back to the Works Podcast. It has been a while since I was doing this seriously, but I'm back. Before I start, I want to talk a little bit about where I've been and why I've been so quiet over the last few months. My last review was just over 8 months ago, but even before that, I was feeling a change. I have always been an avid news consumer, even as a kid. I was raised in a political household. Knowing what was going on and what was happening in our government and around the world was a point of pride and served for a lot of stimulating conversations growing up. Around the time of the writer's strike back in 2023, I was beginning to feel, bad. You don't need to be a journalist to see where the trends in this country are heading. As a gay Jewish man with a Palestinian grandparent, I felt uniquely positioned in this moment where everything felt important, or maybe even personal. As the months evolved and things kept getting worse, I also kept getting worse. I felt this sense of isolation and impending doom, and every time a new fear arose, the people in power would very often validate those worries, usually quicker than expected. When the current administration seized power, I sank into a bit of despair. Movies, the earliest passion and dreams of mine, suddenly felt insufficient. With all the chaos engulfing the world and the threats of AI making us question everything we see, truth started to become this elusive concept to me. I remember at one point watching The Iron Claw, a really good movie, and finding myself distracted, thinking, could an AI replace this? If it did, would I want to be in that world? Would I even know the realities of the world around me if everything could be a deep fake? I began to question my own existence and my own place of being in a country sliding into authoritarianism. As a filmmaker, movies suddenly felt dishonest and not enough to counter this moment. These movies are made with the money from the companies and investors that very much bought this presidency and effectively destroyed our lives for the foreseeable future. And even if they weren't funded by these new techno-fascist oligarchs, I still felt that all-consuming feeling that this was coming to an end. All this beautiful community of artists and filmmakers I had worked my entire life to be a part of was beginning to feel like the walls were caving in. I kept writing reviews, making videos, but it just wasn't enough. My writings began to really change. I would watch the news or see some new disturbing headline, and these bursts of rage would just come spilling out into my notes. Eventually that rage began to take shape. Rhymes first, then full songs. They began to bring structure to the chaos of what I perceived to be the end of everything we hold dear and value. Since high school, I had dabbled in metal and electronic music. At some point, though, I met Xavier Mamie, a brilliant producer. I took the opportunity and we began working on my first EP, When It All Comes Crashing Down. I call myself Protest Art, a moniker I have been using since I was in high school, making my first song. This place I could channel all of my rage and existential dread into creating music. As things continued to get worse, it only seemed to make me double and triple down on protest art. It was giving me something to believe in and work towards. I liked that it was angry because I'm angry. I liked that it was scary because I'm scared. I liked that I could be loud and gay and proud and strong without feeling vulnerable. When I started performing the songs live, I felt a shift. I felt myself latch onto something new and meaningful, and dare I say, hopeful. All through last year, I focused primarily on making my album Stories from the End. I don't know if I would go as far to say that making this album saved my life, but it meant something to me when the future just felt incredibly bleak. That album is now done, and it's out. Stories from the End is a project that kept me sane and gave me something to believe in when all of the world wanted to give was chaos and collapse. One of my favorite quotes is from Jon Stewart, who has repeated this phrase over and over again throughout the years. We have to fight for the world we want. Protest art is the only way I know how to fight. Creating art in a time of censorship and control is the only way I knew how to respond to this moment. This album is for you, as much as it is for me. I know it is cynical and angry, and I know it's something not for everyone, but I urge you to give it a listen. This project meant the whole world to me, and I hope it means that for some of you someday too. So, with all of that out of the way, I do have a couple movies that I reviewed for you, and at the end, I have a short interview with the actress Emma Littig, trying to get her new short film funded. Let's see if we could help her out. But first, I wanted to talk about Pete Docter. I've been away for a minute, but if there was something that immediately screamed at me as something I need to discuss on the podcast, it would be this Pete Docter interview from the Wall Street Journal. Pete Docter is one of the best filmmakers in the world. I, along with all of you, grew up watching his many masterpieces, from Monsters, Inc., to Up, to Inside Out. If I used movies growing up to help make sense of the world around me, Pete Docter probably had a role in that, one way or another. His films echo in my earliest childhood memories, where I was afraid of the dark, afraid that monsters might come out and get me, only to realize that they're just doing their job too. When I watched Up, it helped me to understand loss, which would inevitably impact my life, as I'm sure it has impacted many of yours. When I watched Inside Out, it helped me to understand all of the emotions and hormones rattling around inside my own head. That is why when I read this interview in the Wall Street Journal, I was heartbroken and horrified. In this interview, Pete Docter is asked about the movie Elio. I reviewed Elio and loved it. At the time, I criticized Pixar for not marketing the film better and being afraid to support an independent IP. It turns out that wasn't entirely the case. Elio was supposed to be gay, or at the very least expressed interests that were not typically considered heteromasculine. When asked about why that material was cut from the final product, Pete Docter responded by saying, "We are making a movie, not hundreds of millions of dollars worth of therapy." I have to tell you, when I first read that quote, I cried. There is simply no way to read that as a gay man raised on his movies and not feel incredibly hurt by this. Let's set aside a fact that Pete Docter doesn't really seem to understand what his movies are to people. And let's just ask some basic questions. So he isn't making therapy. Inside Out is a film about going inside the head of an adolescent girl and personifying her emotions into characters to help better understand them. If your intent isn't to make a film that helps children better understand themselves and their emotions, much the same way the goals of therapy are, then what is your intended goal? Why does acknowledging one's sexuality inherently go to therapy, like it's some mental illness that needs to be dealt with? You mean to tell me that you can show a child the first 15 minutes of Up, where the man's partner dies of cancer, and that isn't too traumatic or controversial to show a child, but showing a boy playing with dolls is a step too far? I have racked my brain trying to justify how a man who has spent his entire life making children's movies that teach of acceptance and love and dignity could stoop to such a hateful low. Movies have always been therapy for me. Yes, they're an escape from the realities of life. No, they don't mirror my exact issues. But what they have done always is teach me empathy. Movies have given me the greatest gift you could possibly give another human, especially in Pete Docter's films, and that's the ability to take a step back and see that the monster under your bed, the angry old man, or the girl in your class you don't understand, are worthy of your time and support and love. How Pete Docter could come to such a place where he says, "We are making movies, not hundreds of millions of dollars of therapy," is frankly appalling and evil. I don't think I can ever watch another Pixar film ever again. And on that note, let's talk about this weekend's releases. So, speaking of some people who need therapy, the drama. This is not rated. It's an hour and 45 minutes. It's produced by A24. And this is a dark comedy romance written and directed by Christopher Borgli. It stars Zendaya and Robert Pattinson. I love walking into a movie cold, totally prepared for any outcome. When I saw the drama, all I knew was who was acting in it, and that was enough for me. Emma, Zendaya, and Charlie, Robert Pattinson, have 2 weeks before their wedding. Charlie is still writing his speech and can't figure out the right words. They recall early moments in their relationship that felt good, exciting, the small things you come to love about a partner, like their laugh. At a rehearsal dinner with friends, Mike, Mamoudou Athi, and Rachel, Alana Haim, after a couple drinks, they begin a game of, what is the worst thing you've ever done? Some of their admissions are shocking, but none are as shocking as Emma's admission. Her blunt honesty derails conversations, and soon, Charlie faces a choice to continue forward or call the wedding off entirely. The less you know, the better. The drama feeds off that toe-curling social anxiety satire. Not only is this an A24 film, but this is also produced by Ari Aster, the guy behind Hereditary, Midsommar, Beau is Afraid, and Eddington. His singularly anxious voice is the perfect pairing with the other A24 alum, Christopher Borgli, who previously directed Dream Scenario with Nicolas Cage. While I loved Dream Scenario, the drama is a significantly better film. It is an uproarious good time filled with many hearty laughs, even if they're also making you so uncomfortable you feel like you kind of have to laugh. Zendaya and Pattinson are simply extraordinary in these roles. They really keep you on your toes and squirming when they say or do something completely out of left field. Borgli's brilliant script allows us to shift sides and empathize with each of them. It felt like if you asked Lars von Trier to make a romantic comedy. It is that poignant and uncomfortable, frankly. I was so excited by the end of the drama, I called up all of my friends to tell them that they must go see it. And now I'm telling you, go see this movie, and don't let anyone tell you anything about it. I've already shared far too much. Go for a laugh, but stay for the conversation it inspires. Through all of its awkward social satire, there is a pretty deep political issue at the heart of this thing. At one point, a character asks, "So is it America's fault?" And to be honest, it's hard not to feel like the answer is a resounding, loud yes. I gave this 4.5 stars. And of course, we have the Super Mario Galaxy movie, rated PG, an hour and 38 minutes. This is an animation and video game adaptation from Universal, Nintendo, and Illumination. This is directed by Aaron Harvath and Michael Jelinek. As a critic, I found reviewing films like the Super Mario Galaxy movie is a rather pointless endeavor. Much like the Marvel fanbase, people have no interest in hearing you criticize something that they love so deeply, even if it's a pile of garbage staring them in the face. I've realized that the audience has been trained in such a way that merely showing an image of a character well established in some other source material is enough for so much of the audience. They don't have to be well written or even well introduced, just as long as the image appears on screen. From Five Nights at Freddy's to Sonic the Hedgehog, these audiences just want to feel recognized and don't really seem to care if there is even a real movie or story surrounding their beloved characters. In the case of Mario Galaxy, the follow-up to the Super Mario Bros. Movie from 2023, whatever this sequel lacks in storytelling or artistry or basic structure, it makes up for in colorful entertainment. Without even a single second of character development, Mario Galaxy manages to string us along for the ride by simply never slowing down. Princess Rosalina, played by Brie Larson, has been kidnapped by Bowser Jr., played by Benny Safdie. Once Mario, Chris Pratt, and Luigi, Charlie Day, discover she's been taken, a desperate race ensues to save the princess, spanning the entire Nintendo universe. I am a unique social experiment here in the sense that I don't really have any deep-rooted connection to the Nintendo games. I didn't grow up playing them outside of the occasional party setting, and never really had any interest beyond the brief explanations my friends would offer me while choosing which characters to play as. So, could the Super Mario Galaxy movie actually appeal to someone who's never played the games? The answer is yes, although that doesn't mean I'm happy about it. Despite a vapid script that's only dialogue is plot-driven, the Mario Galaxy movie does manage to move at such a pace that it never felt boring. If I felt that way, I imagine audiences were hooked. In my sold-out screening, the well-trained audience seemed to already know every plot point before it happened. Due to online spoilers and discussion forums, any bit of surprise or intrigue is completely stripped from the experience in exchange for validating the audience's obsession with a character cameo who hasn't been seen for, the early 2000s. At the end of the film, no one left their seats because they have been told there is an end credits scene, which will act as the single most memorable part of the entire movie, because it serves as the trailer for the next film in the franchise, completely voiding the hour and a half you thought you were watching for. These Marvel-style commercial structures for films are destroying all of cinema. But hey, the audience is still paying, right? Why the audience doesn't demand an actual movie is beyond me. We know it can be done. I remember the Lego Movie. Branded content doesn't have to be the slow effort. But alas, Hollywood has managed to rework the old saying, so now it reads, if they're paying for it, no sense in fixing what's broken. To give the film some credit, the animation is well done. I happened to see this in 3D, something I don't often recommend. But since you're going to see this anyway, you might as well see it in 3D because they whip out all of the tricks. It is worth the 30% light loss if it means I can reach out and squeeze Luigi's huge balloon-shaped nose. Before I wrap up, I have to talk about the voice acting. While much of the cast is sufficient, with huge names like Donald Glover playing Yoshi, and mostly just squeaking and grunting his name, there was one performance that rocked me, and that was Jack Black as Bowser. In the first movie, Bowser was a more central character. Now shrunken and no longer a threat, Bowser remains captive in his lair, his voice artificially pitched higher to make him sound small. It also makes Jack Black sound unrecognizable. So much so that when the credits rolled, I was genuinely shocked to see his name still voicing the character. To me, and I'm not one to throw this accusation out lightly, his entire performance sounds AI generated. While there is nothing to suggest this in news clippings or the credits, something feels extremely off. None of Jack Black's charisma seeps through. His voice is so digitally tweaked and manipulated that if it was real, it isn't by the time it makes it to screen. It is lifeless in a way that I just can't begin to explain, as is the rest of the film. Regardless, audiences are sure to love it. It will undoubtedly trounce this weekend's box office. All other movies be damned. They don't even have a shot. The Mario Galaxy movie is another studio creation made of Teflon, impervious to any criticism as long as it throws up a random character from the Nintendo universe every 10 to 15 minutes. It will never mean anything to anyone, and I imagine it will fade into forgotten obscurity soon after the mad rush to go see it first, because there is simply nothing here to hold on to. 2.5 stars. Well, folks, let's move on to my interview with the very talented Emma Littig. Welcome to the Works podcast. Today I am being joined by a very talented actress. Her name is Emma Littig, and she's got a brand new movie in the works that she's trying to get funded. So let's hear what's going on. Emma, what you got going on for us?
Yes, I got some very exciting news. I've recently been cast in this film. It's called Living for Her. It's really cool. It's a short film right now. That's what we're sort of doing our crowdfunder for. And it's about these two women, Cassidy and Emily. They actually meet in the 1700s and they fall in love. And then unfortunately, Cassidy passes away, and their love is so strong for each other that they actually get reincarnated into these different timelines in the future. But the thing that makes this interesting and a little unique from most like reincarnation love stories is they don't actually remember what happened in the previous lifetimes.
Oh,
So they'll
interesting.
like live their lives
It's
as
just kind of
new
like
people.
destined to be, right?
Yeah, and then once they meet each other again, they remember everything.
And when you say it's a short film right now, but does this have any potential to grow into something larger?
I'm glad you asked. It actually does. So, based on our crowdfunding efforts, if we raise a certain amount, I believe it is 4,500, we can get the short filmed. And then if we raise about 80,000, we can actually go ahead and get the green light to do the pilot episode. And basically, for everyone who's either new to film or is just hearing about it, basically, if you have a proof of concept, which this will be, you can then market it towards studios like Amazon, Warner Brothers, Netflix, and sort of show them the journey. And if they like it, it'll get pitched as a limited series, which is something that's so cool and exciting.
Very cool, very cool. So, how long have you been involved with this project?
Yeah, I've been involved for a hot minute. I auditioned. I feel like it was eons ago. It was such a long time ago that I auditioned for this. And Rebecca, the director, I auditioned for her trilogy series, and she just has been, giving me stuff to audition for left and right. She's very busy. And she had me audition for this, and I was really excited. And then I feel like it was 3 months ago, she offered me the role, which is really cool. And she told me,
Very
we're
exciting.
gonna do a Kickstarter and see what happens. And she told me there was lots of potential for growth with this project and asked if I was comfortable with that. I was like, of course. I love when my projects get spin-offs and things like that. So it's really cool and awesome to be part of.
So now, which character did you say you're playing again? You're playing Emily or Cassie?
Emily.
And so, like, go into this character a little bit because you're so excited about this. I mean, tell me about Emily. Like, who is this person?
Yeah, so she is an herbalist. She's a healer. Definitely a little bit of a people pleaser, which I can attest to being a little bit myself. But
Aren't we all in this industry?
exactly, exactly. But yeah, she's really down to earth, grounded. When it comes to terms of sexuality, like that's something, especially in the 1700s, like you get nailed to the stake, burnt for being a witch, for being queer, for being all these things. So she definitely keeps that part of herself um close and doesn't let that many people know that side of her since
Hmm.
she just honestly wants to help people at the end of the day and doesn't want that to be a part of that. But when she meets Cassidy, she really feels like she can be herself with her.
Oh, I love that. And it's so nice also kind of seeing like queer representation like throughout the eons. I think that's
Exactly.
a really cool idea because we've always existed and even if people don't want us to believe that. Um, so like what would you compare this idea to? Is there any movies that you would like any filmmaker making a pitch deck knows that they have to compare this to some other movie that exists at some other point. What would you say this is most like?
I would say Agatha all along. It has lots of similar
Okay.
elements to that. And that movie's done really well. And
Do you ever hear of the movie called The Fountain?
The Fountain, no.
It's
Enlighten
it's a it's a Darren Aronofsky film that
me.
like it wasn't one of his bigger films and like even as a huge fan of his like it's probably not one that I put on very frequently. But like it kind of reminded me of that when you were like telling me the plot of these two people that are just like these two souls that every time they die and then reincarnate in another life, they just find each other somehow.
Mhm.
I just loved kind of stories like that.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited. And plus, Rebecca wants the same actors to play each iteration of them. So
Okay.
they'll look physically the same. So I'll get to, be in all the different wardrobe from all the different time periods, which I'm looking
So
for.
I have to ask, like, is there a time period you're most excited about?
Yeah, so we don't have all the time periods down yet, but Rebecca has chatted about potentially maybe doing the 80s.
Okay.
So if we do that, I'm really excited about that.
Get the hair going and stuff.
The hair going. I think also the 20s would be super fun to do. And honestly, 1700s, the dresses are just so beautiful. I love corsetry and just all that. I think that'll be really fun. Also, she'll have like this ornate apron that she can put all her herbs in and tools. So I'm really excited to play around with that.
Now, can you tell me anything about this director, Rebecca? Like, tell me some of her inspirations for this piece, or some of your inspirations, like accepting the role.
Yeah, of course. No, Rebecca Hyatt, she actually is a YA fantasy novel. So she has a published series out called Secrets of the Warrior, and it's a three-part trilogy. And it's queer as well, and it's about these elves and they're going on missions and, doing elf things. I haven't read them fully, but from what I've heard, it seems really cool. And I'm super excited for that. And she really loves working with the community. She's based in Pennsylvania, so I'm really excited to sort of dive into the Pennsylvania film scene since I'm predominantly New York based. But yeah, she's really cool. It's great to work with her. I am really passionate about getting this film funded, and if I ever have any ideas, she'll always tell me like tell me the ideas and we'll make it work. And I told her since she actually has another project that I can't talk about yet. Um, but
Come on, give us something. Give us a
I know.
little,
I
just
mean,
us a little.
it's queer. It's for sure it's queer, and I'm in it, and it's cool. But yeah, I told her like, I think one of my friends and collaborators would work really good on this project, and Rebecca brought them on,
Oh, nice.
which was super cool. So I really like having that, collaborative energy outside of just being the actor, which Rebecca definitely can be a part of. So
You
yeah.
know, if there's one thing about the film industry is like it's a really large, small industry. I'll try that again. It's a really large, small industry, like everybody, at one point or another has kind of worked with somebody that or they know, and
Yeah.
I love how like there is actually such a community here of artists that really love working together.
Mhm.
And I just think that's so special because I feel like that's something that no other industry offers.
Oh, of course. I feel like whenever I'm on set, if I meet someone that I get along with, we'll network, we'll exchange Instagrams, and we'll have 20 mutuals or something like that of actors
Yep.
that we've worked with. So I love having that community and people that I know I like working with. I'll tell a director, I'll be like, hey, you need this slot filled. I know a few people, and it always makes the set feel lighter.
So I'm curious, like, how long have you been working in the film industry? How long have you been working actress?
Yeah, so professionally, I've been working for about 10 years. But acting has always been a part of my life. I've always enjoyed it. But yeah, when I was in college, I went to school in New Hampshire. Since if I went to school in New York, I know I just want to work like crazy and not do any schoolwork.
That's
So
the
it's
life
like
of a New
I
Yorker.
I have to get that education like out middle of nowhere. But during the summers and whenever I had a break, I was always trying to get on set and just on backstage, just looking for stuff left and right, short films, student films. And yeah, during the earlier stages of my career, we actually, we had COVID. So that definitely changed the film industry and then also the writer strike and actor strike. So I was
Oh
out on the
yeah.
picket line for a hot minute. Um, yeah.
I'm curious, there's a lot of talk about AI right now and kind of a lot of the threats to our industry. Have you noticed a slowdown at all this year?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people keep on saying, like industry is more dead. I think it fluctuates. Also, it fluctuates from an actor's perspective of what the industry is looking for.
Mm,
Like I have a specific type, I can't play everything. And
mm,
let's say for someone that works in crew, like it doesn't matter what they look like, just the skill sets. But for
sure,
me,
100%.
it's so based on appearance. So sometimes I'll be booking a lot, and my other actor friends that have very different types than me won't be booking as much, and vice versa. So
Mm.
I do think my view on if the industry's picked up or not is slightly skewed. But from what I've heard from the ether, it seems like there's been less.
Look, as long as you're working, that makes me happy. You know,
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying, I'm hustling out there.
so like talk about like, being a working actress, like what is it like jumping from like one headspace of a character to the next, sometimes like really quickly? When you like get book one gig and then all of a sudden you have to switch over and become a different character entirely. What is that switch over like?
Yeah, for me, the switchover, it used to be sad saying goodbye to characters. So that used to be really hard since I would really connect with them or vibe with them. But I feel like the more that I've done it, it's become easier. Um, Especially, once you wrap and everything's good to go and there are no reshoot days. Just knowing that a project's wrapped can help me move on to the next, and having that next character to sort of latch onto and become obsessed with and become their best friend, um, really helps me with that transition.
So when you're talking about like taking on a new role, let's even go with Emily right now.
Yeah,
What type of preparation do you do for that?
I do lots of research, especially with someone that is set in a specific time period that's not mine. I'll do lots of
Oh yeah.
research that way. Also, I feel like because of that research, Instagram will send me reels that are sort of similar to the vibe of the character.
Oh,
Um,
the algorithm.
as they're always listening. Um, so I'll do that. Sometimes I'll read books about it. I'll do podcasts. I'll also make sure to like read through my script, and I'll write down notes. I'll even write down objectives, sort of what the character wants. And then I try to at least have some rehearsals with the other actors or see if we can do something like that. One thing that I really like doing too is just, and it sounds a little silly, but with pieces that have enriched text or heightened text, I'll sometimes translate it into the most modern English possible in
Oh, that's
slang
interesting.
to sort of make it more readable if you're doing a quick glance. So that's just another way to like better understand the text, which is cool and fun. And yeah, just like thinking about, what they like doing, their past. I'll even sometimes write down like fake journal entries for like when they are in a project reminiscing about a past experience. Or if they
Mm.
reference something in the past, I'll try to write down what happened in that moment so I can really create a well-balanced, meaningful world for them.
Now, talking about this current project that you're trying to get funded here,
Yeah.
um, have you been able to rehearse or meet your co-star at all?
Not yet. We're still in the funding stages. She is out in Pennsylvania and I'm in New York, so it's kind of hard to, get us out. Plus, I'm pretty sure um she's booked on something or of sorts, we're very
So
busy,
she's
but
going to be doing the switch soon.
probably. And I will too. But yeah, I mean, we soon will, hopefully.
So I guess what I was leading to there was, you have this actress who is going to be playing not just your co-star, but this, infinite love of yours.
Yes.
How do you develop like on-screen chemistry with somebody? Sometimes when you don't even have that much time to rehearse it with them, how do you develop that type of bond that translates over the camera?
Of course. For me, it used to be hard, but over the years it gets easier. First thing, I like to always ask production if they'll do a chemistry read. For this project, we will be doing a chemistry read before filming, just so we can sort of build on that. And if, let's say, I show up to set and this is the first day that I'm meeting XYZ person, what I'll do is I'll introduce myself, be friendly, just try to just maintain a positive vibe, work really closely with the intimacy coordinator too, to make sure boundaries are made and clear and set and that everyone's comfy. And just honestly being like a good friend on set, someone that can be like, hey, if you need something, like let me know. And I'm like here to have fun, but also have a good time, make sure everyone's nice and comfortable.
Interesting. You brought up the role of the intimacy coordinator on set,
Yeah.
and this has become a major role as of the last, I'd say, decade and a half.
Mhm.
How do you feel working with an intimacy coordinator on set? Because like I feel like that's kind of like an obscure idea for somebody outside of the
Of
industry.
course. Yeah.
What is that exactly like?
Yeah, so an intimacy coordinator basically is someone that is going to choreograph any either scenes that involve nudity or kissing or intimacy. So basically, what their job is, some people say their job is just to make sure everyone's feeling safe, but they do more than that. They actually are going to be working with the director to choreograph it. They have an extensive knowledge and training of how to choreograph stuff in a safe way, and that makes everyone feel comfortable. They know a lot about specific angles with the body and
Hmm,
making sure that you're able to convey those stories. And then outside of just working and rehearsing with the actors, they also make sure all the crew knows what's going on today, since they need to be made aware as well.
right,
So
of
it's not
course.
just for the actors or just for the director. It's to make sure that for these very vulnerable moments, everyone feels comfortable to do their job the most efficiently. Hmm.
You guys have a Kickstarter up for this short film. By the way, what is the name of this short film?
Living for her.
Okay, so you guys have a Kickstarter up for this short film, Living for Her. You guys have 17 more days left on it. Where can people find it? And what are the goals that we're trying to hit right now?
Exactly. So Living for Her, you can find it on the Kickstarter website. And I believe you can put a link down in the description for people to probably find it. Um,
100%.
Amazing. So if you click that, you'll get to it. It is really cool. The thing with Kickstarter is if you reach your goal, you're able to keep all the money, but if you don't, everything gets refunded to everyone. So we're really trying to hit that goal. We are 16% funded. We have a lot of more funders coming in, but we can't reach our goal without a little bit of everyone's help. So any
Of
amount that
course.
you can donate is so highly appreciated. And if you donate $5, you get a special thanks credit. So it can either be in your name or if there's someone out there that wants to be in the credits of a film, highly recommend. And then if you donate 35, you actually get the full ebook series, Secret of the Warrior, that I was talking about earlier.
Oh, that's so cool.
I know, it's like a special fun prize. So there's lots of stuff. And if anyone is looking for any executive producer credit, which is hard to come by these days, you can donate a higher tier of $500. So if anyone's looking for that, they also get IMDb credit, which is super cool.
Yeah, well, anyone in the indie space knows how difficult it is to crowdfund and get people to invest in a project. But I wish you guys sincerely all the best, because it sounds like you have a great project here. And I know you, Emma, for a long time now. I know that you are constantly grinding and trying to get work out there. So I'm just looking forward to see what you put on screen.
Oh, thank you so much. I
Of
appreciate
course. You could find Emma at all of the links below. I'm going to post her socials in the description. And of course, donate to this Kickstarter because you got to support independent artists right now. It can't all just be Marvel and Mario Brothers.
it.
So please follow the link in the description, donate to their short film, Living for Her, and stay tuned with Emma and see all the amazing work that she's putting out there because she's just one of the many artists that I've worked with and known for years now that um, deserves your attention and deserves at least $5. So check him out and I'm looking forward to seeing this film.
Amazing.
Thank you, Emma, for being on the show.
Of course, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much.